What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. I got another steel blade battle for you today, so let's get into it. All right, I really enjoyed the last steel blade battle that I did, guys. We looked at the budget steels. We looked at some very commonplace budget steels and one proprietary steel, and I enjoyed myself. I have an inquisitive mind by nature, and I really just enjoy having a look at that stuff. So if you enjoy this one, and watching to the end does help the algorithm, so I appreciate that. Be sure to leave a like and let me know down in the comments what you think about these and maybe some input, feedback. If you like what you're seeing, definitely enjoy it. A little disclosure here on this one, though. This is just me wanting to do some testing on different types of cutting. And my curiosity is not necessarily ergos, cutting geometry, slicing geometry, or anything like that. It's more of how did the edge look when we got to the end of all that cutting? Now, if you're like me, I typically do strop after I use it. So if I break a box down or something like that, I'll clean the edge off and give it a little strop just to keep it going for long periods of time, just so I don't have to sharpen it. That's not to say that I haven't used a knife heavily and had to make it over to the sharpener, or that I didn't really like the factory edge, so I wanted to put my own on. But that's just general rule of thumb how I typically go about my business. Let me bring out some of the contenders out here. I think you will be satisfied. I think you'll be happy with the contenders that I picked. So I have my Migueron Moriarl in 14C28N. This one here I've really enjoyed, guys. Now, full disclosure, I think this is the one that bit my finger here. Yeah, I think this is the one that bit my finger. I was losing my grip towards the end of cutting with this one. I don't know what order I went in, and this one really bit me. This is not the factory edge. The factory edge. This is not the factory edge. I did put my own edge on here because I already at one point in time really pushed this hard through, was it when we bought a TV? I don't know. It was a big purchase, a big cardboard box, and I was just curious, because everybody talks about 14C28N. I wanted to see how it did. And cutting just the cardboard, really hard to tell, but it definitely was not hair popping, hair shaving at the end of that experience at all. It was definitely very different. I feel like I might have over tightened this pivot after I was done cleaning it and putting it back together. So we got 14C28N. So of course I had to go pick up a folding knife with some NitroV on it, guys. Yes, this is hollow grind. Yes, it is flat ground on the Moriarl, but this is not about cutting performance where I'm telling you how did it slice, etc., etc. It's just how does that edge hold up? So we got 14C versus NitroV. Are we finally going to settle this debate? I think we might. And just to make sure that we're looking at something that is in that wheelhouse, shout out to Devo Knives. I love the growler. We got 154 CM on the table as well. We have a bunch of different manufacturers for sure. We got Migueron, Civivi, we got Kubi here making the growler, but I wanted to throw in a dark horse, and that is going to be Damascus, or as it is claimed to be, VG10 steel. So we got 4 this time around that we're going to take a look at. Let's get down to the garage and dive into it. All right, guys, by this point, you know the routine. We're going to do the pre-cut demonstration here. We're going to start out with what should be VG10 Damascus. Very nice. Very, very nice. And the 14C28N here on the Moriarl. Ooh, what's going on there at the end? Okay, that might need a little touch up, so we'll set that to the side and come back to that one. I'm glad I'm checking these before we start. All right, let's check out the growler. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. I think the growler and the Moriarl have a fresh edge on them, and the Amorite and the Elementum do not. So let me just check this real quick. We'll be right back. So serious apologies, guys. These are users in my collection, so could be could be that it actually needed a strop from being used recently. But I'm gonna say this feels fine. I think we're good to go with proceeding. I'm probably gonna go ahead and start with the denim, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the Damascus VG10. So I'm just gonna grab a roll here, and this time, instead of trying to hit a set number, I'm just gonna go through as many cuts as I can on the first one, and then make sure this is the shortest one, and then replicate that with the others. So we'll go ahead and just do, I'm gonna go for 5, but if I get 6, I get 6. So I am trying to hit the middle of the edge here. Hopefully you guys are seeing that okay. Let me back up a little. Yeah. And I don't care about making it through the denim. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I made it through 5 there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the zip tie here. I do apologize. Let me try to bring it over to this side and move my straps and everything over. Actually, I'm going to need to find those later. So let me move those over here. That's my strop and honing rod. So we'll lay this flat and hope that it goes that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we went through 5 zip ties, and then I think what everybody's favorite is going to be, sorry, I have a hard time picking this stuff up later when I'm cleaning off camera. Let's go ahead and grab the cardboard. I'm just going to do 20 this time. I think I did 20 last time as well when I did the budget seals. But let's just see if this is truly VG10, how it performs. We're just going to keep referring to it as Damascus. So we're just going to do 20 cuts. All right, since I could only get to 19, I'm just going to do 19 on all of them. This has got a lot. I know it's not going to be easy to tell, but this has a lot of tape on it. Hopefully the light reflecting will pick that up. So I'm just going to goof off that really quick and make sure that it's not on the edge of the blade, guys. That's what I'm really shooting for here. The Damascus, I've done quite a bit of cutting with the Amorite. I like this one a lot. It is a user in my collection, and I am not going to lie, the Damascus holds up extremely well, like way better than I ever thought would have been possible. Apparently I used all the paper in the demonstration, so let me get a fresh sheet of paper. We will check this one first, and then we will move on to NitroV. I think is going to be the one people expect to do bad as well. So if this Damascus is VG10, here's your VG10 test. Very nice, guys. A little failure towards the end there. But there we go. Paper might have been just rolling, so maybe I should go down an angle. So there's definitely a couple of blemishes. We'll set it to the side and see how it holds up. I would say that this does feel like it performed a little bit better than the 9CR that I tested in the budget steel, but it definitely still has some blemishes. So I'm going to set it over here by the strop. Know that we need to come back to that. Okay, I think NitroV is going to be the one. Whoops, I forgot the denim. That people think that are going to do the next worst. So we'll do, this is going to be a tight roll. I hope I can get 5 out of this. Let me roll this back up. It's actually a little loose. All right, I'm going to go over to the edge here so I have a little bit of an easier time with this one. And we're going to go for 5 cuts on the NitroV. 2, 3, 4, 5. So I did go through 5 of those, and we'll do 5 of the zip tie in the middle as well. I hope you guys can see this. I'm sorry, I got to do it on the edge because it's a Warncliffe. 1, 2. It's going through pretty easily. 3, 4, 5. All right, we'll leave that on there. It makes it a little bit easier to clean up. And we're ready for the cardboard. So let me grab the cardboard here. I actually want to save that slightly wider piece for the 154 cm. And we do have double layer here. So I am just going to trace cut that out because I want it to be fairly consistent. So that is out of there. I hope that doesn't make too much of a difference here. I think we'll be okay. So we're going to go 19 since we could only do 19 on the VG10 Damascus. So. So we're just going to stick with 19. I'm losing my other 2 knives here. We definitely need the glue gun again. It is all taped up, guys. Oh, that feels really nice. All right, so let's see how this compared to the VG10. Very nice. Oh, that first pass was better than the second, that's for sure. Oh, there is a hang-up spot here. Let's see if we can find it. So I would say the VG10. I think the VG10 held up a little bit better, did it not? Yeah, the VG10 held up a little bit better than the NitroV. The NitroV's got a pretty big blemish in there. You know, that's the crappy part about working with cardboard for cut test. It is a little hard to detect where it might have hit something a little bit different, you know, a harder piece in the cardboard or something to that effect, but that is kind of what happens. Now, caveat with the last 2 knives here, the NitroV is brand new. That's a factory fresh edge. It's brand new, just came in yesterday. The VG10 has been stropped and used, but I believe both of I think the Growler, I want to say the Growler and I know the Moyarl have a fresh edge that I put on myself. So I do want to disclose that because I know that can make a difference. Let's jump into NitroV. I'm sorry, not NitroV. 14C28N from Migron. So 5 cuts. All right. There's 5 as those unroll. 5 zip ties. And the reason I like the zip ties is something a little hard. Ooh, that's nice. 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops. So there are your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces there. So hopefully you're able to see that. This should get me my 19. The one piece that I have in here is a little too thin. It's a little bit too thin. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm swapping out the pieces. I thought I checked all these, but apparently not. But these 2 pieces should get me my 19 single ply cardboard. And I think this should get me my 19, I hope. Well, that was interesting. I was trying to reposition to get a better grip, and I poked the tip on my finger, and it's a light little prick, but it definitely pricked me for sure. All right, now let's see where the 14C28N landed at the end of this test. I can already feel not too impressed. Oh, you know what I forgot to check? I forgot to check to see if there's any goo on there. Maybe that's what I was feeling. That might have been what I was feeling there. So let's see here. This stuff does go a long ways, that is for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. They do a beautiful job with that static wash. All right, let's see what the 14C28N feels like after that. And again, this is not the factory edge. This is the edge I put on the knife afterwards. So it does have a couple little blemishes. Oh, man. Let's see if we can get rid of that. So I would say my edge on the Moyarl feels pretty comparable to NitroV. So there's definitely a couple spots hanging up. This, yeah, I can't even make it through, guys. All right, guys, we're back to the table. We're just going to run right through it. Okay, so this was not a factory edge angle, and I believe I've only stropped this one. I was thinking I put a fresh edge on it, but I don't think that I did. I think I'm waiting for that edge to not be very good after stropping, and that has not happened yet. So the only one here that does have a non-factory edge, I don't know how else to describe that, is going to be the Migron Moyarl. Let's run through it. So the 14C28N, fairly good bite. I didn't really feel like it had an issue grabbing onto the cardboard at the end, but even with the aftermarket edge, and there are some factors that can attribute to these results, and I fully acknowledge that. But this one was the most disappointing. The way that we as a community talk about 14C28N and how tough it is, and it's so much tougher than everything else, basically equated to jack at the end of this cut test. Can you get it to a hair-popping, razor-sharp edge? Yes. But this is the second time that I've run 14C28N through the gauntlet of some fairly strong cut test, right? This is not saying that it couldn't continue to cut that cardboard, but the edge at the end was not salvageable. It took a lot of stropping and a lot of honing to get this back to being a slicey boy. I got it back to that point again, and this is, you know, my second time with 14C28N, and maybe when I do a future test, I'll pick a different manufacturer to test the 14C28N to see if I have any different results. But I was really disappointed with the 14C28N at the end of this test when you consider where the price of 14C and NitroV come in at on most knives. The other one that surprised me was the NitroV. It required less to bring it back than the aftermarket edge on the 14C28N. And, you know, again, I fully admit there are factors. Heat treat, factory edge angle, my edge angle. You know, I did it on a guided sharpener, so I should not have burnt the edge. And it was super slicey. Like, it was hair popping slicey before when I took it off of there. I think I did need to strop this because I do, you know, it is a user. But the edge was really good coming off of the KME. And they both felt very nice beforehand. Now, this is a hollow ground NitroV, and I do acknowledge that that does play a factor, right? That cutting geometry can make it appear as if it's performing as well as the thicker geometry of the flat ground. And I get that, but it was the bite. It was the bite, and it felt like it was so close to wanting to go through the paper before I stropped and honed that I felt like NitroV in this instance, and again, hologrind could be a factor for that, probably is, if I'm being honest. But I just felt like the NitroV in this test, and maybe I'll come back and revisit this and get NitroV in a flat grind and get a different 14C28N just to see. But these were very disappointing because I felt like the D2 and the RPM 9 that I did in the budget test performed better at the end. They felt like the edges were better. There was more bite there on those two, and they needed less effort than I needed with the 14C28N and the NitroV in these examples, these specific examples, to bring them back. It felt like it took less effort, and that's probably because the RPM 9 and the D2 were in better shape at the end of that cut test. I don't think that it's harder to manage these, but after that cutting, these were so much further gone than the D2 and the RPM 9 that these took more effort and energy to bring back, whereas the D2 and the RPM 9, because they fared better, didn't take as much energy. So hopefully that makes sense. So super disappointed in this. I would say that they performed identical, but I may, I love the Moirol, so I don't see that going anywhere because that is my constant in the budget realm of $450, 14C28 and G10. I really like this combination. I think it's really well built, and 14C28N is not an edge retention monster. It's actually probably one of the worst at the mid tier as far as edge retention. That's just my opinion. But it's super tough and it's corrosive resistant. So if you're going to beat the hell out of your knife, you don't have to worry about this one breaking. The one that really surprised me, and it makes me believe the rumor mill, or the fact that I've been told that Civivi is using VG10 for their core Damascus, the core steel on their Damascus. This thing really performed very well, guys. It is flat ground, so you got it against the other two flat grinds on the table, but it's very slicey. It had really good bite. This just bit that initial bite into the cardboard, into everything, truthfully, but into the cardboard was really, really good. Very impressed with the Damascus. The VG10 outperformed at the end the NitroV and the 14C28N. It held its edge better. It felt like there was less there that needed to be brought back to life at the end than the NitroV and the 14C28N. So when you're looking at the fact that you get 14C or NitroV for less money than the VG10 on the Damascus, I would say if you're looking at it from edge retention perspective, the VG10 here, for me and my test and what I saw, outperformed these two and makes me feel justified at that extra price. I know it's because of the process of creating the Damascus that they charge a little bit extra. You got to meld the steels together, and then you're using Damascus to make the patterns that you see here. I get it. But if it is VG10 core, which it feels like, I feel like after seeing what 9CR did, it came out of that similar test pretty poorly. This did not. This came out really, really good. It does not have as steep of a factory edge angle on it, so that does make the edge a little bit tougher. But this has that same type of factory edge. It's more steep. It's not laid back, so it's not as hair popping coming from the factory. So I feel like, being that I think 14C and NitroV performed very identical, not good in my results, and the VG10 performed almost as well as the 154CM. I almost wanted to give it a tie, but I think the 154CM was in a little bit better condition and definitely required the least amount to bring back. I only needed to strop the 154CM. The edge was really good at the end. I could have probably kept going, or if I wanted to, I could have left it alone and would have cut for a long time before I needed to strop and hone it back to form. This just needed a little bit of stropping, and it was right back to what it was before. 154CM's edge retention and performance continue to impress. It is one of the best steels you can get in that $50 to $100 territory. But the VG10, this dark horse, was not that far behind. Yes, I did need to strop and hone just a little bit. I don't know what's going on with the edges when it's going through the cardboard, but there is some later impact, meaning like later into the edge, where there's something that was a little bit off, or maybe I need to clean my strop. It could be me, guys. Could be me. My point being is they all had the same exercises to perform, and they all had access to the same tools and materials that I was using it to bring it back. And the VG10 Damascus just blew me away. Like, I was not expecting that result. And I probably will bring VG10 back in to the fold and 154 CM back into the fold to kind of be my constants if I decide to do a different manufacturer's 14C and NitroV, just to compare and see if there's any differences in the result. And I would try to make sure I grabbed some flat ground NitroV, just so that they're all at least flat grinds. But again, this wasn't about edge performance, like how did it feel going through there. I'm just mentioning that I noticed the VG10, the 154 CM, and the NitroV felt like it had a little bit more bite going on. The 14C 28N felt like it wanted to like force or muscle itself into the cut towards the end. You know, that's not in the beginning. At the beginning, they all have the same amount of bite. They all bite really good. It just felt like the 14C 28N felt more slick, and that probably has to do with the fact that I've already laid this back and put a fresh edge on it, and I went shiny more than I did toothy. So maybe I probably replaced the 14C 28N with one that doesn't have my own edge, because both my Migarons that have their 14C 28N on them have my own edge on them. And, you know, I went mirror, which means they're heavily polished. And they generally do have excellent bite after that. But I may go a little bit toothier, try to find something maybe with a factory edge when I try to do this again. But I was just really surprised. One, in that I was very disappointed that NitroV and 14C's edge for me in these examples did not hold up well. And this is the second time. So I did it on the factory edge for 14C 28N on my Moyarl, and I was kind of like, I discounted it. It was a big box. I put it through a lot. I put it through a lot more than it probably could have held up to. But in the end, I needed to put a fresh edge on it. Like, I didn't even want to bother trying to strap and hone it back. Could have, maybe. I probably could have. But I was very disappointed in these two, considering that for VG10 price territory, which ranges for 50 to 70, 76 on Damascus, outperformed for me in this test. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Shout out to everyone out there for watching to this point of the video. Thank you guys that leave the likes, the comments that help the algorithm, watching all of the videos regularly. I mean, all of that helps. So I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate it. And a special thank you to all the channel members out there. Your support is very much appreciated. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.